Tonight we have Witches Night going on, Witches Night in the City, and this is our first annual event. So we're very excited to have Mr. Palermo here with us today.
How did the idea for this come about?
Missy Nichols, who is one of our oracle readers that we have here at the shop, had this idea that she wanted to do something different than Witches Night Out, but keep it as quaint as possible. So she came in and we had a huge meeting with everyone who's involved with the shop, and everybody threw their ideas in and we put it together in about 2.5 weeks. So for our first annual, I think we've done a pretty good job, been pretty successful. Probably about 75 people through tonight, so it's awesome. And the majority of these people heard about us on Facebook and heard about the event on Facebook. So not a few people that are return customers to the store, but mostly new people, coming into the area specifically for the event.
Now, how long has the store been here?
The store's only been here a little over 2.5 years. Started out as a crafting business, doing festivals. We knew we wanted a metaphysical store, so when we came in, it was initially, our incense that we make, candles, our herbal products, and also I'm a herbalist, so those were all products that I made, handmade. The shop has pretty much held its own and grown into what it is now. We came in with just your basic stuff, sage for smudging, different types of incense, things like that. And through the course of the 2.5 years, we've grown into what we are.
You mentioned the term metaphysical. So this is there a difference in metaphysics versus paganism? Because it's Witches Night Out.
I feel like we all do the same thing no matter how we term ourselves or what our religious belief is or what our preferences are. Spirit is spirit. It's God. It's, that's what we're all about here, is finding out what people need and also making sure that we use the terms that they're comfortable with. I feel like the teaching is the same. Doesn't necessarily matter what the belief system is, as long as we can make that approach in the correct way.
The event we're at tonight is the Witches Night. This is our first of an annual event, and we are presenting readers and healers. I do Reiki. I teach it and do Reiki treatments. This is part of Karmic Corner, Karmikkorner, in South St. Louis by Targo Park. I'm here generally Wednesdays through Saturdays and also by appointment.
How did you discover Reiki?
Well, that's a great question. I have a great story. I was involved with a healing group 18 years ago, and the energy that we're working with is Kundalini energy. Kundalini comes up your spine and out the top of your head, and we were given assignments for the healings, and I enjoyed them because the healing assignments were working, but I didn't feel comfortable with it. It just felt off, and I didn't understand that. And I asked them about it, but they were involved with what they thought would work for them and who they had as students. And I had a decisive moment where I wanted to find another healing. I like the law of attraction. I use it often, especially with my current classes. So I think that decisive thought brought me to Reiki. So 18 years ago, I'm on my conscious path. My conscious path to me is that we have a lifetime, this lifetime, and we go back to God. And then when we realize that, there's a hunger because you're new to it. So you can't wait to go here. You can't wait to go listen to this, go hear that, go read, read this book or whatever it is. And each of the places that I went has a bulletin board. And there'd be a flyer or a card and have REIKI on it. Well, if you look up R-E-I-K-I in the dictionary, it's not there. It's not in the dictionary. And there wasn't an internet, at least not like it is now, 18 years ago. So I had no idea what that meant, but I kept seeing it everywhere I went. Part of that hunger. And then, probably about 10 days after I had a decisive moment about finding another healing, a telephone call came out of the blue from someone who didn't like the other healing either. And she said, "Oh, Scott, I have this new class that I'd like to take, and I was wondering if you'd take it with me." And I said, "Yeah, what is it?" And she said, "It's Reiki." So I started laughing because it's like this spiritual hammer hits me over the head. And she goes, "What's so funny?" And I tell her the story, and she says, "Oh my gosh." I said, "Yeah, not only do I want to take it, I think I have to." Here I am 18 years later, and I've been teaching for 18 years.
And this has been a really fun activity tonight. We've had a whole bunch of people come through. I am one of the readers in the group, and I'm doing something a little different. I'm a professional astrologer. So I did mini readings, little astrology readings, 15-minute readings, and I set up the person's chart with what's going on tonight in the cosmos around us, and talked to people about what they're experiencing, who they are and what they're experiencing. So it's really been fun.
Now, I'm going to ask you a question. I've got quite a few astrologer friends, and every once in a while, boy, I just don't understand this. Life isn't going on. Do you use astrology for yourself?
I very much use it for myself. That's how I started doing astrology, was I just had so much fun. I learned it, and as I was learning it, I was using it. I had my first child, and I did her chart. And really, the way that I started doing astrology professionally was I had been using it in my family and with my husband, with my children, with my mother, and just learning about people that way. So I do use it. I know where the moon is. I look at stuff in my chart. I know my chart very well, and that's how I actually learned. You have to look at yourself, learn through yourself, and then it helps you to understand other people. So I do use it.
One of the often criticisms of astrology is the predictiveness of it. Do you find it to be predictive, or do you find it more letting people know what influences are involved in a given time?
A little bit of both. I don't ever try to predict anything that's coming, because you can't. I don't believe you can predict from the astrology. What you can do when you look at a chart is it's like a map, and you can see what potentials are there. You can see which road might be easier to go over, but we are free will beings, and we make our own choices. So I don't use it as a predictive tool. I'll look at it, I'll look at what's coming, and I'll say, okay, now this is going to be difficult, or this is going to be easier. But I don't try to tell anybody else what they're doing, because they have to make their own choices. It's like a psychological guide more than, trying to predict the future.
And you've been doing it how long?
About 45, 50 years. Long time. I started when I was a teenager, and I've been doing it professionally for about 40 years. Right here in St. Louis, and I do classes through Karmic Corner, and I have a professional business. I'm also in the Astrological Association. I'm on their board, so I lecture, and I have clients pretty much all over the world. But I'm based in St. Louis.
Would your reading for someone who is in junior high, for example, be different than what you might tell someone who's in college?
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. Each person that I talk to is going to, when I sit and talk with them, it's tied to their feelings, what they're looking for, what they're interested in. And I'm going to talk to somebody that's younger in a very different way than I'm going to talk to somebody that's in college or that's an adult. I've done little mini readings just recently, and I had a girl come in that was 12. and talk to her and we ended up talking about, I'm a retired teacher, we ended up talking about her school and people at school, and so I very much reach out to people where they're at. I'm not sitting here giving them the final answers. I'm talking to them about what they're interested in and what they want to learn about. I just I love what I do, and I love having an opportunity in a collaborative effort like we have at Karmic Corner. We're like a family, and I love getting to participate in something like this, the classes that we do. I meet a lot of wonderful people, and it's a growing learning experience every time.
Well, I am primarily a tarot card reader. I'm an intuitive reader, but tarot cards are my way into what I see, basically. It's my tool.
Now, over the years, I've noticed that people that when they first start off learning tarot, they'll study what the symbols mean, the pictures mean, and all that. And then later on, maybe they won't even worry about what the symbols and pictures mean. They go, as you say, intuitively. Is that how you do it?
Yes, that is exactly the trajectory I took on it. Actually, I started reading in 2002. Somebody gave me a deck. I was sick in bed, and I studied it, and I learned very quickly. And I did a little bit of memorization, a little bit of association, but I learned to read and interpret cards very quickly. A few years back, because I do have guides that talk to me, and a few years back, they said, we really need you to stop relying on the cards quite as much. Like really they're just, they say to me, it's just a prop. And I say, oh, stop. So I kind of joke around with my guides like that. But it's a tool, and a tool that I find really, incredibly useful. But certainly at this point, there's more into, I rely less on the symbols and what I memorized about the cards. That's for sure true. But they open up, like I can turn over some cards and say, oh, well, you're hard to please. But I might say something different to someone else with that particular card. I might say, oh, well, you're hard to buy gifts for. Those are two different things, but they're represented similarly in the cards.
Now, some people have cards that come up consistently.
Yes.
Do you have any idea why that
is? I think it's path work. I think when we're getting the same cards over and over, it's honestly something that, and we're spiritually, we function it's a spiral. So you can really return to the same, you're going to return to the same things over and over and over and see a deeper truth in them. Anything you're doing path work on in this lifetime is going to be reoccurring. So you're going to get the same cards over and over. Honestly, that's mostly the way that I see it. I don't necessarily see it as something you can't let go of or something that you're holding on to or anything negative like that. I do see it as path work. And sometimes something that's reoccurring over and over and over actually means it's something you need to address with other people. Like you might be a healer in some particular area because you have an understanding maybe from many lifetimes about a particular issue or even physical health issue.
Do you do readings for yourself?
I do reading. I read for myself pretty much all day long. And as long as my cards are always with me and I'm always reading for myself pretty much all the time. And as long as I'm talking about spiritual work, path work, I'm getting, they're talking to me constantly, and it's a beautiful relationship. However, if I need to know, oh, what's going to happen on this date? Am I going to like this person or am I going to make a lot of money? Or I need another reader because I will only see what I want to see when I ask those questions. But if I'm asking on a deeper level and it's about my own development, about my spirituality and these different things, I have a wonderful conversation literally all day long. But like I said, if it's something that deals with our more worldly desires, I need another reader. I was sick. I was laid up. I had an issue with my shoulder, and I was in so much pain. I honestly, and I'm a reader and a writer, by trade and by nature, and I could do neither of those things. I was in pain. I couldn't watch TV. I couldn't read. I couldn't write. I really was in trouble. And a friend said, somebody gave me these cards, and I can't use them. and I think they might be right for you. And she handed me the deck of cards, and it was the only thing that took my mind off the pain. And I was actually in bed for 3 months recovering. And the tarot cards were I really couldn't even, I don't watch television anymore at all, but at the time I watched quite a bit of television, and I couldn't even turn it on. I couldn't do any of the things I like to do. The only thing I could do was read tarot cards. And so I learned them very, very quickly, and I developed a really sweet relationship with them, I think, because of that. My psychology was saved in that in that accident and in that healing by the tarot cards. So that's actually how I got into it and how I learned. And I still have that same deck right here. This is my original deck. 13 years I've been using it. Wow. Yeah. I use other decks as well, but that one is my original, and I still use it.
Do you have other abilities?
I do, and they are coming through more and more. And I've been talking with other healers about them more and more. But figuring out exactly what they are and what my tool is there is still something that I'm looking at. But yes, I'll be branching out very soon. It's knocking. So we'll see what happens. But primarily intuitive abilities, and then just finding a different tool probably is the main thing that I'm looking for right now. Any final words? Oh wow. This is absolutely the work that I love to do the most in the world, and it heals me every single time I do it. Oh, you know what? My last words, what I want to say is this. Every person that sits down at a table is a mirror to me. And so every single person that sits down at the table heals something in me or shows me something about myself, whether I have whatever experience we're having, whether we're crying or we're laughing or whatever it is. It's always something that feeds me and heals me. That's what I want to say.
So I do spirit sketches. I will tune into the energy of the person I'm working with, and I will get images in my mind about either what's going on with their life or to do with a loved one that's crossed over, or sometimes someone they're just dealing with in the physical world. And so I'll just sketch out what I see, and I'll ask them, does this make sense to you? And then we'll just keep working, and then by the end I have a whole paper full of little sketches.
Now, how long does something like that take to get done?
It really depends on the person. I've had my shortest take 5 minutes. I've gone as long as an hour. It just really depends. I try to cut it around 20 minutes right now, but if I don't have anyone waiting down the pipeline, I'll just keep going until I run out of things.
Now, how did you discover this?
It was very random. I had gone to one of the healing shares at Karmic Corner, and I told Carrie, the owner, that I would see images, and she was like, well, come to a healing share, you can meet like-minded people. So I came to the share, and I was sitting across from this woman, and I just felt the overwhelming desire to sketch something. And so I just asked her, like, do you have a piece of paper I can draw on? And she's like, yes. And so she gives me the paper, and I just keep doodling and doodling and doodling. And then I put my pen down, and she's like, let me see that. And so she grabs the paper, and everything I had sketched directly correlated with something that was going on in her life. And so, of course, they were like, oh, do me next, do me next. And so I just lined them up, and there I started.
So it's kind of like doing a reading.
Well, I believe it is a reading. I'm just not using a modality like cards. I think cards are pretty popular. I'm just using the images that I see.
Now, you've been doing this how long?
Not very long, probably about 6 or 7 months now. So I'm a newbie.
So far, what, if you can think about it for a moment, what might be the most important information that's come through an illustration like you do?
I think what people are usually looking for is just confirmation. I think mostly what I get, it's not so much future telling, it's just confirmation of what's going on right now. So people want to know that a choice they've made is okay, or that, if there's conflict going on, then it's okay that that exists. And I think me being able to pull it out of the air, so to speak, just gives them some sort of comfort, like that this is okay, I made the right decision. I don't think people have a whole lot of confidence that whatever decision you make, it's okay, because we're here to learn. Life is an experience of learning, and there is no wrong decision. There might be better decisions, but you learn from it either way. So it's all good in the world of spirit. So if I can just give someone that little bit of comfort, then I think my job is done.
In the work that you do with this particular item, do you find that it's almost a spontaneous thing for you sometimes, or do you really wait until someone comes to you to say, can you do this for me?
Usually I wait for someone to come to me. It has happened where I'll be spontaneous with it. In those instances, it tends to be with a loved one who's crossed over. Like I was waiting at the grocery store line, and this woman in front of me just seemed so sad, and I felt so strongly the presence of her husband who had passed over. And I wasn't going to say anything, but she made a comment about something I was buying was the same thing that her husband used to like to eat. And I was like, I have to say something, you know? And so I started talking to her about some of the images I saw, and like she was reminded about some of their first dates, and you know, just confirmation that he was still with her. That's all she was wanting. And so, and it only took me about 5 or 6 minutes, and so I just did it, you know? And I think those types of instances where I just feel overwhelmingly the presence of a loved one is when I'll go ahead and just throw caution to the wind. But other than that, I usually wait for people to come to me to do a full drawing.
Any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. Don't be afraid to make a decision, would be my final advice. I think people tend to be scared of making the wrong decision or saying the wrong thing, and I feel like there is no finality to any choice that we make. You know, we're going to make mistakes, and just know that life is flexible. So if you make a mistake, then just fix it down the road and you're all good.
We are at the Witches Night in the City event in St. Louis at Carmen Corner.
Now, what is it that you do?
I'm an intuitive reader. Basically, what I try to do is give you things that you can work on your life with, law of attraction, what's going on in your life, the things that you need to work on, what is happening with you. I intuitively read what's going on with you, so I can connect directly with you, if that's an easy way to explain it.
And how do you do that?
I don't know.
Well, thank you very much.
Really, it's just opening your third eye. I've always been able to do it, so for me, it's a little bit, that's a hard question for me to answer. I thought everybody did it, you know? So for me, I don't know how to answer that for you. I wish I could. I've just always been able to do it. I've always been able to read people. And I think a lot of times it happens when we're little and we have traumatic things happen to us. So we have to read the vibrations of people around us. And that's really what happened with me. We had trauma in our family. A lot of things happened. We went through a lot of death, things like that. So for me, it was easier for me to start reading people's vibrations because of that. I had to, because I was put in a lot of different situations. So I had to be able to pick up on people's vibrations very easily. So I thought everybody did it. And they do. Everybody is psychic. They just have to tune into it.
Now, how early did this start for you?
Forever. I mean, I've never really known any different. I really thought everyone did it. I really did. I used to see things when I was little, but they told me they weren't there. It wasn't that I was afraid of what I was seeing. I was afraid of what they were telling me I wasn't seeing. So as far back as I can remember, I've seen things. I did shut it off for a long time, like a lot of us do. We turned to other things to try and shut it off. It doesn't shut off. It doesn't work like that. It would be nice. It just kind of dulls it a little bit, and then they kind of smack you with it in different ways.
Yes, they do.
Wake up! We're calling. It's Avon.
Can you remember the first time that you did this for somebody?
With cards or without cards?
Either.
I've done it without cards my whole life.
Okay.
With cards, started using cards, I'm going to say about 7 years ago. 6, 7 years ago. Started using them as tools. It's a lot easier. They're just a tool for you to use to be able to tune in a little bit easier. You can cold read people all the time. You do it every day. Everybody does it. They just don't realize that that's what they're doing. So, really, your first tool, and listen to your heart. Listen to your angels, your guides, those kind of things around you. But most of the time we turn that off, and we don't listen.
When you first did it purposely to help somebody, was it family or friend?
I would have to say family, because it was little. I was little. I started to try and heal people when my father died. So, I was the youngest. and they didn't know how to handle it, and I was a lot more in tune with the things that were going on. And you know, we had gotten separated and things like that. So for me to see my siblings, it was an instant tune in. So to help them through my father's death, I think, was my biggest challenge. And I was 4. So I didn't have a whole lot of information. So it's mostly just love, which is what I do now. Just love people.
Now, as you mentioned, like a lot of us do, you put it away for a while.
Mm-hmm.
What age were you when you put it away?
Really put it away probably about... I started putting it away about 16. Really put it away probably about 19, but totally locked it up in my 30s. Yeah.
And what prompted you to reopen it?
Death. Lots of death. Lots of death around me. I lost 7 friends in a row. Best friends. Really good friends. 2 diseases. Suicide. Different things like that. Took me on a downward spiral until I had to realize that if I was going to come out of it, I had to save myself. So, and by saving myself and helping others, it saved me. Just tuning in.
Any final words?
We're all connected. So start connecting.
Short, sweet, to the point. I like it. Very good. Thank you, dear.
Thank you.